Okay, dude, so you said you were stuck on page 459, number 11 and 13. Here was a square, and it told you that the radius of the square was the square root of 6. If you thought about this angle as 90 degrees, then you would know that this angle is 45 because the radius intersects in the vertex of that angle and it cuts it in half. So since this is a 45, 45, 90 triangle, I need to remember that if I have a 45, 45, 90 triangle, that the hypotenuse is the short side times the square root of 2. So if the hypotenuse is square root of 6, and that's this times square root of 2, all I have to do to find the length of that side is divide the hypotenuse by the square root of 2, and I'll get square root of 3. So the short side is square root of 3, which is this portion. So if this half of the square side is square root of 3, and this half of the square side is square root of 3, then square root of 3 plus square root of 3 is 2 times the square root of 3. That's where the side length comes from. You can finish it. Find the apothem, find the perimeter, find the area, and double check your answers in the back. On number 13, it gave you a hexagon and said that the side length was 4. So if I think about that again, the apothem intersects at the midpoint of the side. Half of 4 is 2. So since this part is 2, I have to think about what kind of triangle this is. Well, since it's a hexagon, there are 6 sides and 6 angles, and 360 divided by 6 is 60. So I've got a 30, 60, 90 triangle. And if I have a 30, 60, 90 triangle, and this side is 2, you can use your wonderful information about 30, 60, 90s to figure out your other 2 pieces. I'm not helping you anymore with that one. You can use your skills and put them back together. So moving on to the next lesson. We're talking about a circle. This should look really familiar to you. You did circumference with your mom a long time ago, and you know that circumference is the distance around a circle. It's like perimeter is to a polygon. This is the radius. What is the relationship between the radius and the diameter, which goes all the way across? You're right. The diameter is twice the radius. So if the radius is 5, 5 times 2 is 10. Now, to find the circumference, I use one of 2 formulas. I can either use pi times diameter or 2 pi times the radius. Pi times diameter is what? 10 pi. And if I do 2 times the radius, is 2 times 5 is 10, times pi, 10 pi. Get the same thing. Doesn't matter which formula I use. Now, if I have the circumference is 28 and I want to find out what the radius is, I would need to solve back in and figure it out. Circumference is 28 pi equals 2 times the radius. Solve this equation for r. So the radius of this circle would be 14. The other piece we're going to talk about today is arc length. And arc length would be how long is this portion of the circle. So it's like part of the perimeter, or like a segment would be as part of a line. And you have the formula where L, and L is in a cursive letter here, equals the measure of the arc divided by 360 times 2 pi r. Now the reason the formula works, this is the circumference. This fraction represents the part of the entire circumference that this arc is. So I'm finding a fraction of the whole circumference. So again, if I've got the circumference equals 3 pi, First thing I need to do is find out what my radius is. So I can do 3 pi equals 2 pi r, because I'm substituting in my circumference to find my radius. Divide 3 pi by 2 pi. Pi divided by pi is 1. 3 divided by 2 is 1.5. So my radius is 1.5. Now, in this particular problem, I'm telling you that the measure of the arc length is 30. So in order to find the whole arc length, I have to do 30 divided by 360. Sorry, I'm having trouble holding this and substituting at the same time. Times 2 pi r. What is 30 over 360? Divide both by 10. 3 goes into 36 12 times. That's 1/12 times 2 pi r. 2 goes once, 2 goes 6. So it's pi r over 6 is my arc length. Sorry the work was so messy there. All right, here's your assignment. Page 469, 3 through 17 odd. Page 459, 4 through 12 even. This goes back and looks at the apothem and things again. This is circumference and arc length.